Once upon a time, on a brisk November day, a child was born. I know what you're thinking. Children are born every day, thousands of them in fact. But this was no ordinary child. On November 29, 85, in Berkeley, California, Habib and Rakia gave birth to Alyssa, a creature so wild and fiery, so strong-willed, smart and determined, that the world and the people whose path she crossed would never be the same.
Her father tells the story of bringing her to the highest, foggiest place he can think of in the bay, the Golden Gate Bridge, so that she can inhale the moisture in the air and calm some of the fire within her. It seems his tactics worked just enough to cool little Alyssa so that she could continue blazing her trail on Earth. But the fire within her was only subdued, not tamed. From the beginning, Alyssa stood apart. Her presence was impossible to ignore, and her larger-than-life personality could not be contained by the confines of society.
The freedom that came with adolescence was like lighter fluid to the fire inside Alyssa. There was one problem, however. Her brilliance had allowed her to skip 3rd grade. But as a teenager, this meant she would have to wait to enjoy the same freedoms as her peers. This didn't work for Alyssa. Instead, she chose to bend or obliterate every rule holding her back. At 15, while her friends were getting jobs, she was too young to legally work. Alyssa didn't see this as a problem, only a minor roadblock. She quickly discovered that all she had to do was change her birth date, make up a random social security number, and voila, anyone can get a job. The IRS did start contacting her soon after, but we'll leave that for another time.
Certainly being too young to get her driver's license was no obstacle for our Alyssa. She simply got behind the wheel and started driving anyway. Her first accident led to being blackmailed for $500. Despite her illegal work practices, young Alyssa couldn't quite afford this. Not to worry. Armed with a quivering lip, she confided in her mother that her friend Lily had sadly been knocked up, and because her mother wasn't as understanding, Rakia was the only one who could come to the rescue. The abortion cost $500.
As you can see, Alyssa did not lack for creativity. Like MacGyver, there was no problem she couldn't solve. When the steering wheel in her car was too hot for her delicate hands, she simply tied a few ribbons to it and drove with makeshift reins. It's hard to say if this was the cause of any accidents, but accidents there were. Halfway through an illegal left turn on red, Alyssa changed her mind and maneuvered such that they managed to pop all 4 of her tires.
Age restrictions were not the only laws that Alyssa felt she could do without. But who could have guessed it would be Ann Arbor's click it or ticket law that would send our little firecracker into the slammer. True to form, she was wearing stilettos and a sparkling gown when she was pulled over for not wearing her seatbelt, a lifelong habit that she has yet to break. It was quickly discovered there was a warrant out for her arrest for an unpaid speeding ticket. Since the ticket happened to be in another state, she felt she didn't need to pay it. Apparently, that's not how these things work. So, next thing you know, Alyssa is being cuffed and put into the back of a police car.
A lifelong ignorer of instant exposure laws, Alyssa has yet to be formally charged. However, people have reported sightings of Alyssa peeing in hallways and staircases, subway trains, Starbucks cups in the back of backseat cars, carpeted dorm room floors, her own dresser drawers. The list goes on.
Breaking the law is not the only thing Alyssa does without fail. Her loyalty is literally unparalleled. If you form a friendship with this woman, you know beyond a glimmer of doubt that she has your back to the grave. There's no situation, no matter how dangerous or uncomfortable, that would prevent Alyssa from backing up her friends. Like a lioness defending her cubs, Alyssa has chased armed robbers down the dark streets of D.C., and if her friends are run by a guy, you better believe they'll be hearing from Alyssa.
She's never hesitated to confront anyone who's hurt one of her friends. She makes us laugh until we can hardly breathe. She makes us feel loved no matter what. She shows her support with unparalleled enthusiasm. She listens and gives advice. She is humble and trustworthy. She is smart, informed, hardworking, and passionate about advocating for the freedoms of others. She is drop-dead gorgeous, yet also modest. And she is most certainly not a basic bitch. Just ask her. She'll tell you.
One can only imagine the attention our little Alyssa's wild beauty drew from men. The only thing more powerful than her magnetism was her own attraction to them. You see, it seems Alyssa grew up with beer goggles permanently fused to her eyeballs. Everywhere she looked, she saw Greek gods waiting to escort her to non-existent homecoming dances.
To her friends, these gods more closely resembled geeks in ankle-grazing, high-waisted, acid-wash jeans and Miami button-up shirts, men so pale and gaunt you could see their veins and bones through their skin, spineless men in sci-fi eyeglasses on ultimate frisbee teams, balding men who slept on park benches a few blocks from their Manhattan apartments in an attempt to feel sad.
For 25 years, these goggles stayed firmly attached, causing Alyssa to date all kinds of freaks and geeks, much to the dismay of her friends and family. And then one day, they fell off, most likely into a puddle of her own pee. And she walked into a Halloween party and met the man of her dreams. He was handsome, smart, kind and funny, and most importantly, he grounded her in just the right way. With him by her side, Alyssa found pleasure in things no one could have anticipated. She fell in love with his son, Drew, and flourished in her role as a step-parent. They adopted a little boy, a Tyrannosaurus Rex dog named Bones, and she found she made an incredible dog mom.
They got married and had the most beautiful and fun wedding ever. She started finding pleasure in making homemade fruit snacks, popsicles, and baked mac and cheese for her boys. But of course, she still loves her Cheetos.
No one knows what the future holds, especially when it comes to a creature as lively and unpredictable as Alyssa, but one thing is for sure, it will never be boring. We cannot wait to see what's next and are so happy to be on this ride with you.
I'm going to email you a video. It's pretty critical for you to watch. It's called Basic Bitch, and I'm going to... It's exactly what we're not. It's a girl... Actually, this is really important. Super critical. Wait, I didn't hear that.